Boy, was that a tough act to follow. That was an incredible talk. And now I want to try Advent of Code again because I think I tried, and then at the end of December, you're kind of demotivated. Anyway, all right. So today we're going to finish with a little bit of drinking. So it's like we say in the US, it's 5 o'clock somewhere, whether that's 10 in the morning, it's 5 o'clock somewhere, right? So we got to just enjoy life, right? So we're going to talk a little bit about the Great Minibar Challenge. And this is the absolute last time I'm giving this talk, so I'm going to crush it for you, okay? So supervised drinking with Jen. All right. So my name's Jen Looper, and I'm a Cloud Developer Advocate Lead at Microsoft. That means at the moment I am managing Canada, US, and Latin America, the regional team on the Cloud Advocate, in the Cloud Advocate department. There's about 120 of us running around. I manage just a few of those, but it's really an exciting place to be, as you might have found out from the panel. I'm very cynical. I've been working in this industry for a long time. I have some words about it that you can't print. But I think that where I'm at now is a very, very cool place to be, so I'm happy. So I'm also the founder and CEO of Vue Vixens, and we have our Vue Vixens Sweden chapter ladies right here in front of me, and I'm so excited. Give a little wave, ladies. So yeah, I founded Vue Vixens in 2018, and at this point we have like, I don't know, I lost count, 20-something chapters worldwide. We just launched in Japan, so I was just in Tokyo. I was delayed a couple days by the typhoon, so that was really exciting. The conference didn't actually happen, but we had a lot of cool events anyway. So we are worldwide, and our mission is educating women in Vue.js. So if you're interested, talk to JC and Gloria. And we are also happy to have men involved in our organization as mentors or helpers. So please come visit us at vuevixens.org. And I am the previous manager, because I just got too busy and I had to leave it, but I am the previous manager of the Boston Vue.js meetup. So that is our logo. Isn't it cute? Anybody been to Boston? You know the Citgo sign that flashes? So that's the Citgo sign. You get it. So that's fun. So my Twitter handle is Jen Looper, and you can always find me on Twitter. So I mentioned Boston Vue.js meetup because I actually invented the Vuetini for that meetup. So if I can remember the recipe, I will give it to you, but it has little kiwis in the Vue shape, so very, very cute. This is my invention. You have to contribute in life one way or another, right? I'm also known as Queen of the Apps. So this is according to the Wellesley Weston magazine, so it must be true, right? And this is me absolutely looking crazy, talking about some of the mobile apps that I've developed. So I really love mobile apps. I love developing mobile apps. And it's just something I've been passionate about for many, many years. So the other thing I like to do is I like to travel. I like to travel, and also I travel a lot for my job. So we talked in the panel about how I'm a developer advocate. We used to be evangelists, you know, let's talk about, do you have a few minutes to talk about Azure? But no. Now we're just all about helping people figure out what technologies work well for them. So I travel a lot. I think this is the map from 2018. So I think there are 47 trips. Now, some of those may have been little commutes, but that's a lot of schlepping, as we say. So I do like to travel a lot, and I stay in a lot of hotels. Sadly, this is not a photo from our current hotel. My current hotel, you open the fridge, and it is so empty, like moths flying out scenario. It's really just... You can tell a lot about a hotel by the minibar, right? So this was an amazing minibar that I came across, and you can see inside they have these little bottles. So my question for you is, what do you call these little bottles? Because in Boston we call these nips, and the British people are they start rolling in the aisles. They think that's very funny, because in British English, nips is something completely different. But anyway, these little bottles, little nip bottles, are kind of omnipresent in these type of minibars with all the snacks. So that's what I'm always looking for in hotel bars. So I travel a lot, schlepping around all the time. I love mobile apps. And I also like this project that we started in my last company, actually started by a college student in Budapest. Igor, he started NativeScript-Vue, which is a port of NativeScript, which is a way of building mobile apps for iOS and Android using JavaScript. So normally you would build a NativeScript app using Angular or vanilla JavaScript. With this one, you can use Vue, Vue.js. And the minute I saw this kid, this 19-year-old kid had ported this, I was really excited because I really enjoy Vue. So I thought, OK, let's try to make a really cool set of mobile apps using NativeScript-Vue. This is going to be great. So put this all together, and what do you get? You get an app idea, which I have disturbingly often app ideas. I just had a great one from my dad, actually, to somehow get a hold of the Uber API and make an Uber app for people who have trouble negotiating that user interface. So you can just like press a button and get to where you need to go. Anyway, that's the next thing. Right now, we're talking about this app idea, which is, wouldn't it be cool if we could create a mobile app that would make my life easier in a hotel, because this is all about me, right? What if we could, go into a hotel and we could immediately make sense of the minibar, if there are things in the minibar, by suggesting cocktails to make with available ingredients, right? So you look at the nip bottles and you're like, oh yeah, I put that together, and you can make a nice cocktail for yourself. And it would be 5 o'clock, no matter how jet-lagged you are. You all set, all right? We're going to do it in NativeScript-Vue because I like it. And again, this is all about me, right? And we're going to make it an intelligent app. We're going to make it a smart app. I love this. And then we're going to have some fun while we're at it. So that's what we're going to do today. I'm going to show you how I built this incredible app, which I called Mixology. And when you pitch this kind of app idea to your typical Silicon Valley investor or to any kind of CEO, CTO, they're going to say, you want to make a smart app? Oh, yeah. Let's make an AI, right? So the great quote that I love to pull about making an AI is that half of the time when companies say they need AI, what they really need is a select clause with a group by, right? So that is kind of the classic tweet. Not everything needs an AI. Sometimes you can use a little machine learning sprinkled into your app and make it that much more interesting. OK. So given that we're going to go ahead and do that exact thing, we have to get some data. How do you get data? Well, the first thing that I do when I'm in need of data, I feel the need for data, I go to Kaggle. How many Kagglers in here love Kaggle? Just one? OK, a couple guys back there. OK, great. Kaggle is such a cool place to just go and surf. I have a couple of notebooks up on Kaggle now. I have Emily Dickinson poetry, Beatles poetry, cocktails. So there's a lot of very diverse and weird stuff on Kaggle. And you can usually find something interesting to play with in terms of big data sets to work with. So Kaggle is the data scientists' heaven. Also, by the way, they have very nice courseware right now to get you kind of comfortable with Python and into machine learning. So it's quite good, and you should try it if you want to kind of get into this field. So I went to Kaggle, and guess what? I found 500 crowdsourced cocktails scraped from thecocktaildb.com. So most people, when they want to make a cocktail app, they go to thecocktaildb.com, and they start using these cocktails. Well, if you take a look at those, there is entirely not enough cocktailing going on here because those cocktails, like I said, are crowdsourced, so they're not vetted, they're not real. There's like peach fuzz cocktail with weird vodka and some kind of nectar or whatever and a load of sugar in it. So it's just not, it's not good enough. Okay, not good enough for me. I'm very picky about this stuff. So not enough cocktailing in that particular data set. So I started thinking, I need a better data set. I need something that's vetted. So I went to where I usually go to do research, which is Twitter. And I follow Beth Skwarecki, who created the Bot Cocktails Twitter feed. And on that Twitter feed, she's using neural networks to create fake cocktails, and they're tweeted out periodically. So it's very fun. And someone asked her, well, where do you get your data for Bot Cocktails? And she said, what did you use for the recipes? I'd love to see one made with the Mr. Boston Bartender's Guide. Well, what is that? Who knows Mr. Boston? Old Mr. Boston? This is very esoteric stuff. OK. Well, I'll tell you, this is Mr. Boston. So I keep many things in my purse, as you'll see through this talk. This is old Mr. Boston's official. You'd be astonished what you can get into a purse. Old Mr. Boston's official bartending guide, written in 1935. It looked like this originally. I think it came out in 1935 because if you remember, in the US, we had Prohibition in the 20s. So everybody sort of forgot how to make proper cocktails, and they're just mixing random gasoline with hooch and moonshine and trying to make something drinkable, you know. So Mr. Boston is, you know, the official guide for making things, and there are some crazy cocktails in here. Most of them seem to have raw egg. It is a thing, and it's disgusting. But here's a good one, 50-50 cocktail, dry gin and French vermouth. That's it. So this is kind of the hardcore. But it used to be that every bartender would have a version of this, you know, under the bar, and they'd pull it out. When people like my dad would walk into the bar, my dad always asks for a fog cutter. Nobody knows what a fog cutter is. So they would just, you know, it's actually in here. So they go in here, and hopefully there's no raw egg in it, because that's gross. So that's Mr. Boston. Well, guess what? There's a website, oldmrboston.com. So little research will lead you to this amazing website. You do a little inspection. Guess what? You can find the database call. There's a scrapable API. You can scrape the heck out of it, and you get all these really great, historic, vetted cocktail recipes. This is pure gold. So I scraped the heck out of this website to get proper recipes for nice cocktails. And now all your cocktails belong to me. Import that stuff into Kaggle, and you can start doing some interesting data analysis. You can kind of see the logic of cocktails in this guide, and you can see kind of the top ingredients are vodka, rum, gin, well, this is small, tequila, I can't read it, something lemon and whiskey. I mean, it makes sense, right? That the most popular thing would be vodka because it's the strongest, you know. You just want to get drunk quick. That's how we roll in Boston, right? So, okay, so we have everything in Kaggle now. We have everything in kind of an Excel spreadsheet. All the recipes are in columns. You have the ingredient 1, ingredient 2, you know, step 1, step 2, and the result, the name of the cocktail. Everything's all set. You are in money. This is great. We have data. Yay. Okay. Step 2, now you need to build your mobile app. So what do you need? Another recipe. We need, for my purposes, I always turn to NativeScript, because in my previous job, I was evangelizing NativeScript. I was an advocate for NativeScript, and I used to help people decide to use NativeScript to build mobile apps. So you can always use the NativeScript CLI, and you would just type TNS, which Telerik NativeScript, TNS create, and then the name of your app. Then you're given a couple of prompts. You just run through this, and it'll say, you know, do you want to do it in Angular or Vue or plain JavaScript? Do you want to TypeScript? So I pick Vue, and then it goes and scaffolds me a nice basic app. And this is what your code base looks like if you choose Vue. So how many Vue.js developers do we have in here? Hello, chapter. We have work to do. How about Angular? Okay, React? Yes. Okay, very interesting. Well, anyway, if you're a Vue developer, us three, so this is what your code base looks like. So the basic building blocks of a Vue single file component is your template block, your script block, and your style block. So here we have a nice template block. And for normal web Vue developers, it looks a little funny because some of this markup is weird. It has, instead of H1s and P tags, it has action bar, labels, grid layout, formatted string. Like, what the heck is that? Well, those are actually NativeScript modules because NativeScript allows, it kind of abstracts away some of the native code. So you're just using modules, and then it's going to build for iOS and Android the proper native element. So here, when you have an action bar, it's going to build an iOS action bar for you, you know, the thingy at the top in a mobile app. And then on Android, same thing, but for Android, the native element. So that's all ready to go and nicely scaffolded for you and ready to roll. If you run this thing in emulators, TNS run iOS, TNS run Android, assuming that you have Xcode and Android Studio installed and everything's proper, which is like 3 days of work. But anyway, it's wonderful. Once everything's installed, don't touch it. It'll be fine. Or you can just run it on device, which is easier. Just run it in the emulators, and you can see that you have a pretty basic, not very interesting blank app. But it runs cross-platform, and it's done in Vue with JavaScript, and you just built a native app. And that's kind of amazing, right? OK. I know not everybody gets excited. OK. Yes! OK. Then you have to fix up the UI, because that UI was really not anything to write home about, right? So this is when I need some audience participation. I need some oohs and ahs. OK, so here we go. So this is what I created. So we're going to present Mixology, the mobile app. That's the icon. That's the logo. Ah, that's the home page. Woo. Actually, it's kind of nice. It's kind of pretty. Look at that nice grid layout, right? With some images, the little tab. So I really hate the way native tab bars look, because on Android, tabs are always on top. On iOS, tabs are on the bottom, and that's just crazy talk. So I make my own tabs, but that's just me. OK. We have data. We have the app scaffolded. We have it looking decent, which is very important. So then we have to leverage our data. So here's where you have to start figuring, how am I going to get my data into my app? If I have tequila in my wonderful minibar, if I have tequila, what can I make with tequila? You get a glass, you get some ice, you get some tequila, maybe some, I don't know, orange juice? Something in your minibar, Diet Coke, I don't know. Well, guess what? This is actually, you don't need any machine learning for this. This is just a database. You just need a database for this. So it's not too hard. A couple things you can do. You could try an Azure function. Azure functions are cool. Even I like Azure functions. So if you have Visual Studio Code, you're a JavaScript developer, there's some really nice tooling, and you can just press a couple buttons, and it'll scaffold for you an Azure function. And then you can start querying Cosmos DB, or I like to use table storage, because my data is really flat and kind of uninteresting. So that's what I've been using recently. And you can just make an API really, really easily using an Azure function. That's super fun. So if you dump all your cocktail information into an Azure storage table, it looks like this. Very nice for flat data. Bit cheaper if you're looking for a cheaper solution than Cosmos. So lots of good things to try. So once you have your function all ready to go and your API is built, and you can test it locally, you can create an API and test it locally using Visual Studio Code and Azure functions. This is really neat, actually. Then you can build an API to get at your data. So you can create a function to query a table for a cocktail that contains a certain ingredient. So for example, I'm just going to pass in the query string tequila, and it'll give me the top 5 or whatever recipes. And this is all you need. This is just using the JavaScript SDK with Azure functions. It's really simple. So you're just doing a query, an Azure table query, getting the top 5 ingredients, recipes where the ingredient equals, and then your query string. So that works actually pretty well. Nice to have available for you. And then you can deploy this function. So this is my API running locally, and you can see the data coming right through. So your data endpoint, your API endpoint is built, and you can just deploy this up to Azure if you so choose. Oi, Gewalt. And then to use it in your app, all you have to do is use an async function, and then you can get your response just by hitting that API. So it's really straightforward. And is that really fuzzy? No, I guess you can see it. OK. And it is ready for you to use in your app. Definitely use async and await to make sure that Azure is up with that cold start and paying attention. And here's where this old talk is merged into the new talk. You could just use Firebase. So if you like Firebase, I like Firebase too. You can go ahead and use Firebase as a database provider. They have that nice real-time function. It's super convenient. Dump your data into Firebase and just grab it and use it in your app. So in this situation, I just uploaded the cocktails to Firebase from my Excel spreadsheet that I scraped off of that API. And it just goes right into Firebase. Now, the reason I'm using Firebase is because we have a really great plugin for NativeScript called the NativeScript plugin Firebase. It's probably the most useful plugin I use with my NativeScript apps because I tended to use Firebase quite a lot. And you can just use this plugin and do all kinds of things. I needed it for the data and also for the use of TensorFlow custom models. We're going to talk about that in a minute. So it's very important. Okay, so in main.js, you're just going to go ahead and import the Firebase plugin and then start it up. Oh, it's time for a demo. Are you ready? Okay, so here is my iPhone. All right, here's the app. So if I would pick gin, for example, fat finger it, that's always helpful. Okay, view the recipes, sorry. Come on, Firebase. There they are. So gin is the top ingredient in these extremely vetted and beautiful cocktails. The Napoleon, the Zaza cocktail, verboten, bachelor's bait. Oh, it's one of those egg white ones. That is disgusting. We're not going to have that. That's gross. Okay, but anyway, that's really, really simple. So just, query Firebase and get cocktails back. Woohoo! Yes. Well, it's okay. It's, it's so-so. All right. Let's push this a little bit further. What if we're in a hotel room, we open the minibar, there's actually things in the minibar, and we want to run the bottles, we don't know what we're looking at, right? Because we can't read the labels. My daughter said, why don't you just run the labels through OCR? That would be easy. That would be easy. We're gonna run the bottles through an image recognition service and see what happens, right? So you're gonna be scanning your cocktails scan the bottles and try to figure out a cocktail to build with those ingredients. Well, couple options. You could try Google Cloud Vision API. It has a pre-trained generic model. Unfortunately, if you pass this kind of picture to it, they'll just say, oh, well, it's a bottle, there's some nails, there's a finger, drink, glass bottle, liqueur, ingredient, condiment, and distilled beverage. That is totally unhelpful. That is really not helpful. I know it's a bottle. Like, I'm not, seriously. Okay. What about Clarify? Anybody tried Clarify? Clarify is cool. They're a startup in New York City, and they're some of the best at image recognition. Unfortunately, here we are again. It's a bottle. Yes, we know it's a bottle. It's wood, underneath. There is no person. It's dirty old containers. You're indoors. It's beer, hand. It's not any of these things. It's just not. This is wrong. Okay. So it's doing its best. It's using its pre-trained food model to try to figure out what it's looking at. And it's just not what we need. Well, how about Microsoft? Well, it's a hand holding a bottle. Not too bad. I also tried OCR. You can see it kind of overlays the text that it's reading on top. So that's something also to try. There's other APIs that you can use that have pre-trained models to take a look at images. There's a couple really cool services that you can try out. I'll give you the links at the end. Anyway, it's still not what we want. It's not specific enough, right? It's really not very exciting. This is a job for a custom trained model. Yes. Okay. What am I talking about? What is this model of which you speak? A machine learning model is a mathematical model of sample data built using a machine learning algorithm in order to make predictions without being explicitly programmed. So whenever you see the classic description of machine learning, it's making predictions without being explicitly programmed. Great. All right, so now you have to train this thing. I like to turn to TensorFlow. TensorFlow works great for me. There's other options out there, but we're going to make a custom model with little bottles, and we're going to use TensorFlow. So we're also going to use Firebase to consume those custom machine learning models. The trick with this plugin is that your model needs to be quantized. So you need some kind of quantization-aware training. What the heck does that mean? So if a model is a mathematical model of sample data to make predictions without being explicitly programmed, a quantized model is compressed, basically. So I'm just going to read this out because it's a little complicated. So quantization refers to the process of reducing the number of bits that represent a number. In the context of deep learning, which is where we're at here, the predominant numerical format used for research and for deployment has so far been a 32-bit floating point. However, the desire for reduced bandwidth and compute requirements of deep learning models, which is what we're dealing with, has driven research into using lower precision numerical formats. And this is all very cute, but you are going to lose a little bit of accuracy in this kind of model. That's unfortunate, but we're trying to have a trade-off of being able to use these kind of models on our phones and on edge devices like these smart Arduinos that are allowed to use TensorFlow Lite models on them now. You're going to need to have a quantized TensorFlow Lite, TF Lite model. So this is something that we're going to have to build, and it's kind of a hassle. Because before, what I was doing was I was taking a model, I was building it, and then quantizing it using post-quantization, or post-training quantization. You're going to lose a lot of accuracy that way. So I've been trying and kind of experimenting with a new way of building these models. So I'm using quantization-aware training. And TensorFlow Lite has a Slim, it's called TensorFlow Slim project, for quantization-aware training scripts. So I forked that out of TensorFlow and created a couple scripts that will allow you to train your stuff and create this quantization-aware model with your own data. And take my word for it, it does work more or less. So here's how to build a custom machine learning model. Again, we always have this problem of sourcing data, especially when you're doing custom work. Where are you going to find a bazillion pictures of little bottles? Well, this is me in my kitchen with a lot of little bottles. So if you take little iPhone movies, about 6 seconds or so, you can use FFmpeg library to split all these videos into a series of images. All of these images are going to be a little bit similar, actually quite similar, so it's not the greatest process in the world, but at least it'll give you enough training data that you can train something on this thing, okay? So FFmpeg is your friend on this. You take your video, split it into images. So here's how to build a custom machine learning model using TF-Slim from TensorFlow Research. And this is all on my GitHub. All these scripts are ready for you. So here we go. There are 4 steps. The first one is to prepare and convert your data. So you're going to go ahead and gather up the images that you just trained on into separate labeled folders. So I have Amaretto, Bourbon, Brandy. So I hit the liquor store pretty hard. And I bought a lot of these little bottles. And I did a lot of training in the kitchen, and my husband was like, "What are you doing?" "I'm making an app, believe me." So, and then the second part of this preparation script is to convert your files into TF record data sets. So this is something that TensorFlow needs to be able to deal with getting all the little images into a proper format. And then it's going to go ahead and divide the data set into training set and validation data. So you train on your training data, and then you validate the guesses that it's making using your validation data. Step 2, the actual training. So we've prepared our images. They're all in the proper format. They're split into 2 different sets. Now we've got to train on that. So we're going to use MobileNet as pre-trained data on which to build a new model. And the quantization is occurring at this step. So instead of training and then quantization at the end, you're going to just use quantization-aware training. So you're going to train a full model, or you can also just retrain the last few layers of a deep learning model on your data. So that works pretty well. MobileNet, to make efficient convolutional neural networks for mobile vision applications, very specifically for your mobile devices, works great. Step 3 is to evaluate your model. So you run this script, and you'll get a little evaluation. So obviously, this one was only 64% accurate. It's really not that great. I've gotten up to 89, training on better data. So I trained a bird model. So the Cornell Ornithology Laboratory has a beautiful data set of songbirds. It's really nice. There's hundreds of images of like male cardinals, female cardinals, young cardinals, because they all look different. And that's really good data to train on. You can get pretty decent accuracy. So this business of taking little videos and splitting them into images, it's not the greatest, for accuracy, but it'll at least get you a model in the end of the day. And if you don't like the accuracy, you can look through the scripts and tweak some parameters and retrain. So this is, I think, basically the job of data scientists is, combing through Excel spreadsheets, cleaning up data, and tweaking parameters until you get something that works. So we call it job security. Okay. Step 4, you're going to convert your model to TensorFlow Lite format. So that's the last thing. And you can just take a look at what it looks like, make sure it's quantized. This one is quantized, it says so. Right there where I can't see. So that's ready to roll. Now this model is ready to import into your code base. You're going to use this thing. It's going to live on your device in your app. So we are in money. This is going to be great. All right. Now you're going to use it in your app. So here you're going to go ahead and use the camera module in NativeScript to take a picture. And you're going to set the picture to be 224 by 224. Keep the aspect ratio so that it doesn't get distorted. And then you're going to query MLKit with the image source that you just took. I use a set timeout just to make sure that everything gets processed properly and comes back properly. Okay, so you query MLKit. MLKit lives in Firebase, and it allows you to leverage a lot of really great things with TensorFlow. So TensorFlow is owned by Google, so is Firebase, and that's actually kind of interesting that they're having a lot of custom-trained stuff going through Firebase. And I have a feeling it's because Google really loves to look at our data. So here we go again. But that's cool because it works fine. Anyway, it's my data. I trained it up. It's my little bottles, right? Okay. So I put my TensorFlow Lite, that TF Lite file, is in my code base. I also put the labels text file, so it has, bourbon, amaretto, sambuca, whiskey, bourbon. So it's going to be looking at the labels and figuring out what the image is that it just is processing. So, demo time. Okay. All right. All right, here's where it gets interesting. So it just happens that I have a lot of little bottles in my purse because, Gatwick was ecstatic. They're like, what are you doing? And I'm saying, it's for a demo. They're like, yeah, honey, okay. Okay, I have some bourbon. I have some sambuca. That's glass. Gin. Never leave home without them, right? Brandy. Vodka. Jack Daniels. All right. Now, I don't think that this model is really ecstatic about looking at the gin. Let's just see. I don't think it's going to... We'll see. Okay, I'm going to take a picture. You can see? Yeah. Okay, hold on. It's time to Tanqueray. All right, here we go. Come on, custom model. Show me your stuff. Hey, not that great. It thinks it's rum. It's not rum. Let's try something else. Let's try Jim Beam, Kentucky bourbon. Yes! Woohoo! I feel like I don't want to test it anymore. Let's just not push it. Don't push it. Just let that go. All right. Fantastic. Yes. We are all set. And we're ready for 5 o'clock. All right. Yay, custom models. Custom models are cool. You can do all kinds of things with custom models. I actually trained on the songbirds one, and then I put a bird feeder outside my kitchen window and put a little edge device that has a camera attached to it to watch the songbirds, and it's telling me how many... we have little birds called titmouse that have a little kind of crest, so it's like watching. And the light's not very good, so it gets a little confused, but it's a very good model. I think it's on my GitHub. If it's not, I'll post it up there. But that works really, really great, and it's good for songbirds because we have the situation in the US where we're losing songbirds. So if you do the great backyard bird count, you could use a custom model and get exactly how many of what kind of bird are coming through. And I mean, it's not just about drinking, right? Sometimes we can actually do, normal things and good things with our training, because now you know how to do it. Okay. But we can do more. We can do more than just making a custom model, although God knows that's hard enough. But don't you think that AI should be kind of weird? AI should be kind of creative, or at least stimulate our creativity, right, as developers. There's a fantastic website by Janelle Shane called AIweirdness.com. It's amazing. She's doing all kinds of really cool work. And she's using a lot of times she's using TextGen-RNN. It's a recurrent neural network. It's a text-generating neural network that generates words that sort of make sense. So she actually ran a whole bunch of Harry Potter fan fiction through this thing and got an entire movie script generated that's completely bizarre. But it's very, very fun to kind of experiment with this stuff and see how far you can push these models. So the AI is going to iterate through your sets of words and phrases until it finds patterns. So I actually used this with Emily Dickinson, and it was really interesting because it was able to kind of pick up her meter and pick up her vocabulary and create fake Emily Dickinson poetry. I've done the same for the Beatles. It's pretty fun. I can show you if you want to see demos of all these apps. I have it all on my phone. I do nothing if not important work. Okay, yes. So anyway, on AIweirdness.com, she worked with a bunch of 7th graders to get a whole bunch of ice cream recipes, ran it through a recurrent neural network, and got new recipes. There's bug, mango cats, brown crunch, peanut butter slime, and lemon cream grass play, strawberry cream disease. So really great stuff from those kids. I love it. There's also cookie recipes. There's quitter bread bars, Mary Hunga Poppers, low fuzzy feets, and sugar person sugar masts, my personal favorite. So lots of things being generated, lots of good fun. Oh, hand butter sacks are really great. Grandma's spritches. But this is actually my favorite thing. She ran a whole bunch of knitting patterns through the recurrent neural network, and people actually created what was produced, and they came out completely creepy. I love it. Really awful. So good fun. Generated knitting patterns. Okay, great. Let's do this. Why don't we take all the cocktail recipes that we just scraped out of the old Mr. Boston data set, run it through TextGen-RNN, and create fake cocktail recipes. This is astoundingly fun to do. And you can get some good ideas on cocktails that you might want to create as you're in your hotel room and thinking about what the heck you're going to be doing with the rest of your life. So if you want to learn about TextGen-RNN, here's the GitHub. It's by a really cool guy who has done amazing work with these neural networks. If you want to try it hands-on, I've created an Azure notebook for you. So notebooks are like Jupyter notebooks. You can kind of keep them all together. I have several. And again, I'll give you the link at the end. So you can test and see, look at the code behind it, and see how it feels to you. It's a lot of fun. All right. So to run this stuff through a neural network, you need to clean up the data one more time. Like I said, your whole life is spent in Excel and text files. So these are the original recipes: Gauguin, Fort Lauderdale, apple pie, Cuban cocktail #1. Those are all real recipes. Okay, so we just kind of shape it up into a text file in something that that TextGen-RNN is going to understand. And then you're going to feed it to the text generation. I like to do this locally because it's a little bit slow. So you can ask it to generate just one cocktail one by one, or ask it to generate like 500. So I asked it to generate 500 fake cocktails for me. So as it's going, it's starting to look kind of interesting and real. We've got Anderi G-Cal gin with bitters, a lemon twist, shake with ice and strain into cocktail glass. It picked up the pattern of these recipes, right? The name of it, a couple of ingredients, and then directions. It's kind of neat. I really enjoyed this. Although I don't know what a cap bane is. So okay, so I generated 500 fake cocktails, put them into a text file, imported them into the app. You could also use this out of a database if you wanted to. Or more interestingly, you could have a little Python script running and then generate them on the fly, maybe, using a notebook, and then it would use a pipeline to get it into your app. So there's all kinds of fun things you could do. Anyway, I just generated them, popped them into a text file, and then I used them. And now, because I like to do mobile development, and the reason I like to do mobile development is because this thing has a lot of cool hardware that you can leverage. So what I wanted to do is to be able to shake my phone and get a new cocktail each time. All right? So, because you try that with a web app, my friends. This is native development we're talking about. All right. And I also give it a little sound effect. I'll try to turn on my phone and try not to destroy the sound system. But anyway, I was recording the shaker in my kitchen, and I got another check from the husband. What are you doing? It's for the app. Okay. So enable your accelerometer and shake to make yourself a drink. All right. Here's the demo. Okay, so here we go. You can't hear it because it's plugged in. So anyway, I can show it to you later, but anyway, I keep shaking. Anemia apple. But it's whiskey, chartreuse, and grenadine. That's probably pretty decent, but they're all fake. Absinthe cocktail, gin, vermouth, it's strong. Gin, vermouth, lemon juice, more vermouth, Benedictine, I'm not sure what a Benedictine is. Lemon juice and simple syrup and soda water, and what else? Heavens to Betsy. Oh my gosh, it keeps going. Lemon, orange juice, amaretto, and and I don't know about that last dress. I don't know. Anyway, one more time. Devil's Side, carbonated Worcester. Carbonated Worcester, that's a Boston cocktail. You got tequila and bitters. You shake it with ice and strain it into a cocktail glass. It's awesome. You're gonna love it. All right. That's my talk. That's my demo. If you have questions, I'll give you a liquor, because I don't want to take this back on the plane. If you would like a cocktail, I do have a glass and developer elixir, which is apparently Red Bull, and I'm thinking the Red Bull with bourbon. Okay, so fun fact, you'd think this is vodka, but I drank it. Same with the gin, it's just water. My friends, I have a problem. Okay. Anyway, if anyone has a question, I will give you... Okay, you can actually have whiskey on the rocks, but you got to bring the rocks. Or this thing, whatever it is, and I don't know, you can take your choice. So, and this is a QR code if you'd like to, that will take you to the GitHub repo with all this code base and instructions on how to build your own custom stuff and all kinds of fun things to look at, Azure things to click on. It's good fun. All right, I'm happy to take your questions.
Questions? Come on, there was booze. You want to throw it? You want to do the honors?
You can throw it, and I'll deliver the liquor.
Okay.
You get brandy and
I really
Red
want
Bull.
to kick it, but I'm just not going to. Hear it, right?
Oh. Thanks a lot. Hey. Congratulations for the talk, by the way. I wanted to ask you, when you were generating the model for the bottles, I saw that you had the videos and you were rotating them. So you took images from all the sides. And would it have been better maybe to focus only on the front? Because you, anyway, usually take the pictures on the front.
Yeah, I wanted to get it as diverse as possible, and I eventually moved it from like my hand to just setting it down to also different backgrounds, because I think it overfits on my hand sometimes. Because I was expecting, like, if it's vodka, you must be holding it, that kind of thing. So this is not the best method. I guess it would be great for testing some theories. Yeah, but yeah, definitely it would be better just to let it sit and get some, or maybe like this, and also blur it. Would be another one, and also maybe make some of it bigger. Yeah. Who wants whiskey? Jack Daniels. It's not bad.
Yeah, it's good.
Okay.
I didn't have any questions.
I just don't have any question. Just. So, for a programmer that haven't studied data science, can you still create an app with artificial intelligence?
Yes, I have not studied data science particularly intensely. I'm actually supposed to be a French teacher. So long story short, I'm at Microsoft talking about mobile apps on my Apple stuff. So you see the kind of strange world we live in. But if you go to Kaggle, there are great courses if you want to learn more. If you want to learn data science properly, take Andrew Ng's course on Coursera. It's hard, but it'll really teach you the basics of machine learning, and I strongly recommend starting there on Coursera for Andrew Ng. He's a Stanford professor. I took it, and I figure if I can take it and stand it, you can take it too. So, but yeah, and then if you don't really want to do your own training, you can also always use cognitive services. Like there's all the Google stuff. There's Clarify for amazing models, custom pre-trained models you can use, and then Microsoft has all kinds of really great cognitive services. It's a pleasure to work with. And you can just use API calls, just hit them. It's really great.
Thank you.
Sure. Urban?
Hey, did you contribute back did you contribute back the data set back to the community? Did you return back the data image? Can somebody else use your images and expand?
I'm trying to remember if I don't think I uploaded them, but I can if you want me to. Definitely.
Yeah, I mean, some collaboration.
Yeah, we should make it better. You're right. And
Exactly.
I also, so there's a way on Firefox you can scrape images. There's a couple techniques if you're on Firefox. You can search for little bottles of tequila, and it'll give you a whole bunch of them. And you just scrape all the images. The trick with that is that they're all not the same size, so that can be a little tough for your training. Some people use the Bing API, believe it or not, and it actually gets you a lot of images. So, and I'm not selling this. I'm not evangelizing, but it actually is a great thing, and it kind of works. So yeah, I think I'll go ahead and pop them into GitHub. Why not? Let's do it. And the songbirds are available. Was it you? Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah. Songbirds are available on Cornell Ornithology Lab if you want to play with that data set. Those are great images. They're beautiful.
Hi. So I was wondering why you quantize the data instead of maybe running it on some server and then just making an API call with the picture and running it somewhere else than the device.
So I want to make this thing work offline. So I want to make sure that my little model is available on device so that I can be off Wi-Fi in some crappy hotel and scanning bottles. So otherwise, you could Azure pipelines or these kind of DevOps pipelines are super, especially if you want to change the model frequently. So that's really useful. You can have it just kind of being passed through on request. Whenever you get a better model, you could pass it to your users. This is something I want to explore, making it better. Do you like Sambuca?
Oh yeah, definitely.
The rest of it's just water. Sorry.
He's your driver.
Be careful.
Any more
The car drives
questions?
itself, so.
So look, booze runs out, no more questions.
That's it.
Laura?
Cool. Well,
No
thank you
more?
so much for everything.
Thank you.
Fantastic.
I got